I've been talking to you about the importance of the census for a while, and it's not a sexy topic. It's not very exciting, but it's really, really important. So that's why I've been talking about it, and I've told you about the Trump administration's sort of indirect or maybe direct attempt to sabotage the census by just underfunding the Census Bureau at every opportunity. And this really matters because it determines not only how districting is done and how many representatives each state gets, but it also impacts distribution of funds. It impacts representation of minority groups and minority voters. It's a really important thing. And the Trump administration is now further trying to torpedo the census. The Commerce Department and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross have announced yesterday that the 2020 census will ask people if they are American citizens. This is, of course, supported by Attorney General Jeff Sessions and, of course, supported by Donald Trump. And it is an unmitigated disaster. This will do a couple of different things. Number one, you ask people about their citizenship on the census, and it is going to hold down the response rates from people who are concerned about their immigration status, meaning that they will be underrepresented in the census. And you can imagine how hugely impactful that is. When you ask about citizenship on the census, you are doing something that is also redundant and not necessary. There's this thing called the American Community Survey, which asks about citizenship already. The census hasn't asked about citizenship since 1950. You have a president who ran on and continues to threaten to do deportations, to round people up humanely, as he likes to say, to build walls. And then you put a citizenship question on the census. You think you're going to get accurate data in that way? If you want to skew the survey to undercount minorities and immigrants for political gain, this is exactly what you do. You put a citizenship question on the census, which will make it so that anyone concerned about immigration status simply does not participate. And now it's becoming part of a bigger strategy. It's a more coherent strategy now to torpedo the census. Underfund the census at a high level, and then add a question about citizenship. Not every state is taking this lying down. California is suing over this decision. Very good example, by the way, California, of a blue state with a high immigrant and minority population that will get screwed out of a ton of money if you include this question in the census. And one of the reasons that the Trump administration, Wilbur Ross, whoever, one of the reasons that they're giving for putting this question back in is, hey, we had this question in the census from the 1800s to 1950. Can you imagine using that logic for anything else? Hey, they had slavery during that time. We should put that back in. They had legal discrimination during that time. Let's add that back in, as if that's a reason to do things. The fact that we used to do something can't be, in a modern Western democracy, supposedly modern, supposedly a democracy, a reason for doing something like this. And it's actually really representative of what conservatism wants, right? We've talked about this before. On many issues, we say conservatives want to go back to the 1950s. On some issues, they want to go back to the 1850s altogether. And this includes, take your choice of issues where they want to regress, whether it's women's rights or LGBT rights or many, many others. So this is, it's one of those ideas that to the Trumpist right will sort of sound like, yeah, why would anyone have a problem with that? If you're here legally, then you have nothing to be afraid of. And if you're not here legally, you shouldn't be here at all. And you shouldn't be part of the census, so we don't have to worry about it. This is a way to shift funds from big blue states, including states like California and New York, to red states with lower populations that will be proportionately or in proportion more represented by the census if you had this question. Hopefully California succeeds in their lawsuit and other states follow.